Who would like to know how to feel sensually fulfilled using plant teacher allies? So I am Galila Espinoza, and for the last 12 years I have been journeying in many ways, both in academics, in doing PhD research on sexual healing and plant teachers, and also being in ceremonies with shamans from around the world, learning techniques and tools around energy. And as far as I know, I'm the first person to actually weave together academic research and hands-on healing around sexual energy. And thank you. And it's been interesting because for me it's exciting. I'm stretching myself, I'm on the edge. I receive emails and calls from people all over the world saying thank you so much for venturing into this territory, because as you know, it's taboo in some traditions to even feel sexual energy in ceremony. And so there's criticism that comes along with it, and I am open and delighted with all of it. Because what's happening is energy is moving. This is what needs to come through. We need to discuss, we need to feel, we need to connect. So I feel blessed to serve people in various sexual initiations, traveling to conferences and speaking. I'm having a blast. But it hasn't always been this way. I feel my heart pounding. Sharing with you 10 years ago when my partner suddenly died of a heart attack and my life just fell apart. I was depressed. I didn't know what to do next. Has anyone been in that situation? You're in the dark night of the soul. Yeah. And what does one do? Well, I had a dream that a serpent came at my window and I was with my partner who had just died. It was that night that I found out that he had died, and this serpent came in and like 100-foot one, you know, big face and peering at me in the window, and came through and bit me, and I died. So I thought, why not go down to Peru into the jungle and die there? Sounded like a good idea because I didn't know what else to do. So I went down, and I assumed that I would be crying for my whole time there, just in grief. And what happened instead was very odd. I had full-on ecstasy for hours in my body that I had never experienced before. I'm like, what is ayahuasca? What is this energy? What's happening? And so I decided to venture into it full-on for 7 years in a PhD program. And luckily, when you are in such a situation, I can pretend to be normal and be doing research. But really, it was a lot of ceremonies and going into all kinds of realms and learning about sexual energy. So what happened was I went down to the jungle again for 3 months to do a isolation diet, and I needed a research question. I wanted to be like a really good student. And so I'm like, I'm gonna ask the plants because they're more intelligent than me. And I got the guidance that I needed to focus on my own sexual trauma. For years I had been, I'm gonna serve others. I'm gonna distract myself in all kinds of ways. And I was shown that I actually could place myself in the category of having sex and love addiction. Tracking myself and looking at my behavior in my sexual experiences, similar to what you're saying, that a partner actually asked me, was it during sex or after, but said, it feels like I'm with a prostitute, where are you? And I didn't know what he was talking about until I went down into the jungle and started to actually feel what it's like to be in my body. So that was a revelation. And I decided to go deeper into the vegetalismo world and diet other plants, and became interested in connecting with local plants in my own backyard and seeing what these intelligent beings that actually hold the masculine and feminine energy, and see what they could teach me. So I feel blessed that I was given the message to dive deeper and really go into the unknown and stretch myself around my own sexual expression, sexual healing, sexual journey. And I tried to avoid it for a long time, and it was beautiful how the jungle really held me in terms of giving me the messages of almost like the trickster energy. Like, you think you're gonna run away? No, we're gonna get you. We're gonna, really get you in a way that is gonna hold space for you to really go deep. And, it's interesting in the PhD research that I did, interviewing women around North America, the message came through that these plants actually helped the intelligence and the loving space that people could actually trust going deeper into their sexual healing. They trusted the plants more than the humans in their life. So, back to the question of who would like to hear how to feel sexual, sensual fulfillment utilizing these plant allies? And the answer is, they will teach you about energy. Everything's energy. Your sexual energy, Kundalini awakening, how to channel that energy. And so what I've found in all the people that I've spoken with who connect with various entheogens, and people come to me, what do I do in my sex life? I don't understand. And I see three things happening. The first is energy confusion. So people can either expand their energy, it's free for all, they're sexing it up all over the place, and not really thinking about consequences and actually what is happening in that sexual energetic exchange that we do see in ceremony sometimes. And I can put myself in this category, that I was not mindful with my energy, and I was deteriorating in terms of feeling that numbness and not knowing how to get back into my body. And so I was in this state of at the point where I would take condoms to the back of my bed and lure men in and be ready for this. At least I was safe, right? But there was no heart connection there. And so I went from that phase to then the jungle phase. And I was, with vegetalismo, no sexual energy, no sexual activity. So I went for 3 years being celibate and learning about sexuality. So extremes, right? So I'm learning now to be in the middle. How do I balance that energy from the plants and then my sexual energy, the Kundalini awakening that's happened, and how do I channel it mindfully with love? So it's interesting, when I do research, I love to look up stats. And did you know that in the United States, every 5 minutes, $500 million is spent on internet porn, right? What is that saying about society? How are we sexing it up? How is our sexual energy exploding everywhere? What is that doing to our culture, to our brains, the brains of our youth, right? There are now men in their 20s who can't stay hard because they're addicted to porn. It's actually changing their brain, right? Also, in the United States, that there are like 30% of people on antidepressants. What? 30% of women on antidepressants. What does that do for our sexual energy and expression? This is like a huge area in terms of what does sex have to do with peace. They're very related. How are we relating to our body? That sexual energy, the erotic energy that actually is the impulse of creation. How are we learning to hold that in our body and then share it with others? Through internet porn, through antidepressants? No. So we're either expanding and all over the place, or we're contracting and we're being all spiritual. And being in California for the last 9 years, it's very interesting. The spiritual bypassing that happens, and I put myself in that category too. Oh, I'm being good because at least I'm journeying, you know, and going into different realms, right? And then I would get in front of someone and be like trembling with fear, like how do I actually relate to this human with my sexual energy? And I would get all bashful and shy, and I felt like I was in high school, right? Which is fine, it's fun. So the second thing that I see happening is unbalanced attachments. Has anyone had a challenging time letting go of a past partner?
Has anyone not?
Yeah. How many years has that been? Literally. For me, one of them was like 10 years. The energy, right, of leaking connection to that person, that's a dream, it's an illusion. And then there's someone standing right in front of us. How are we connecting with them? So I see people, I would say half of my clients are, I don't know how to let go. There's something about this person. There's some karmic contract, you know, that I need to resolve. Can you please just do an exorcism or kick them out of my life, you know? And there are many issues involved, right? So looking at how are we blocked energetically and who is it with? And then learning how to tweak the relationship chords. Not only with past partners, current friends, family, we've got a lot going on energetically all the time. You understand that? Yeah. So the other thing that I see happening is that people either they're still hanging on, or they've given up hope. Will I actually be able to connect with someone on that spiritual level that we experience in ceremonies? Can I actually have that high, beautiful vibration of love with someone, with another human being? Where am I going to find them? Not in Vancouver, I hear. It's been interesting because I've just moved back to Vancouver and happy to be here. And I've already noticed something about the men here that's different. And it is a little trickier here. I think they're a little bit more shy. We're going to work on that collectively, right? To be more authentic. So the third area that I see is castration of your voice. How do we actually say to someone, I'm really feeling drawn to you. I'm really having an issue when you want me to slap your behind during sex, you know, right? How honest are we? Do we have the tools? Do we have the skills? Yeah, we're learning, but I would say overall, where are we getting this information? From our friends bitching? From the internet? The porn sites? From our parents? I don't know who speaks to your parents about this. Your love life. Anyone? I do, actually. Yeah. So these are three areas that I see happening, and really it's about connecting in with your plant allies and letting them show you where your blocks are and then how to release them. When I was in the jungle, I actually had a dream that first night, you know, when I asked the plants, what do I want to focus on? And I was in New York, Times Square, in the dream. And I was on a podium with a Coca-Cola banner around it. And I was having sex with a partner in front of thousands of people. And in the dream, it was actually quite okay. I thought it was odd, but it was okay. And then afterwards, I was asking the plants, what are you talking about? What's going on here? And I was shown that for first chakra, you know, that I wasn't connected, I wasn't grounded. I'm naturally open in my upper chakras and can connect easily with the different realms, subtle realms. And I really needed to focus on the grounding, which is where tobacco came in very well. And so in this dream, I was shown that I needed to focus on certain areas in order for me to take the next step in my healing journey before I could even think of offering anything and feeling so put together or fancy or enlightened, right? It was very humbling. And what I realized is that I wasn't caring for myself. I needed to really focus on my own nurturing. And the plants were a beautiful way, a tender way, and an authentic way for me to connect in. And I actually trusted them more than I trusted another human. That includes facilitators, ceremony facilitators. And I have to say that one thing that I've learned over the last 15 years of being in ceremonies with ayahuasca and other entheogens is that I trust my body more than I trust any facilitator or any leader, right? And I encourage you to really tap into that as well, because the body is the cosmic intelligence. The universe is here. And I feel that these plant teachers are connecting us with our hearts, and the heart being the portal to our next evolutionary ascension. Right? Does anyone feel that? Right, so these beautiful allies are available. Even if we never have another journey again, we are hosting these energies all the time in our bodies. And so I agree that there's a lot of unmindful connection with these plant spirits, plant allies, psychedelics. We really, as a community, can learn to maximize the benefit of these connections that we are blessed to have available to us. And the conference coming up in a couple weekends is exactly that kind of community forum to share information. And I am so optimistic that these allies that we have will support us in creating a new paradigm, in weaving together the feminine and the masculine energies so that they're harmonized, so that we can find our center, find our truth, be in integrity, learn how to speak our truth. Does anyone feel that too? Yeah. So I would love to speak further with some of you, especially the ones of you that were nodding a lot. I would love to offer a one-on-one conversation, because there's only so much that I can relay to you. And so if you would like to share your email, I will send out an invite and we can have a chat and just see, where are you at? Where do you want to go? with your sexual expression, your sexual energy. And this isn't for everyone. This is for people who are ready to go deeper into your journey with entheogens and into your sexual exploration. For instance, sometimes for a session that I have, we focus on the root chakra and go right into the yoni and look at the physical aspects and really research, self-research with a mirror and your fingers. Like, what's your depth? What's your, like, really get in there. And men too, we can get in there too. Like, really looking at the details. And then taking the layers through the journey of the, not just the physical, but the mental and emotional and the spiritual of our sexual organs to start off with. And relating this to our allies so that we can actually create rituals, including this information that we have. So how do we know, in terms of our energy, what we're giving or leaking, and then what we're preserving that's in balance and harmony with ourselves? And there are many different ways to ask this question, like in ceremony. This is where I learned a lot. It's interesting because I would learn like Qigong, medical Qigong techniques, I would learn Reiki, and I would learn all these things, but not knowing what the name was until after a few years, and I'd be like, oh, that's what these plants were showing me energetically, right? So there are techniques that you can use in terms of breath, like reclaiming the energy from past partners, and then learning how to seed it below, and then releasing with love back to the person. And if you do this in the ceremony, it is incredible what can happen in 5 minutes. So it's an exploration. I encourage people to be light with it, you know, and experiment. And I'm sure that a lot of you are involved with different modalities, right? Like different energetic modalities, and you can also practice with that. So that's a long answer for it takes a while, and it's beneficial to link up with your fellow mates, your peers, people who are interested in the same area to discover together. Because really, what I also found in terms of talking to different people and what was helpful for them, and it's healing in community. So too often we're in isolation, and this is what I did, years of being in an isolated diet and in the tree forest for 3 years and not seeing anyone. I'm gonna like focus and be disciplined. And then I realized that I didn't know how to be with people, so then I swung way over here, and it's all about community, and I'm here now. It's like all about healing together. And so one of the first things that I recommend a group to do, get your friends together and have a sharing circle and talk about your energy in general, like where you're feeling a lot of energy or what's going on in your body, basically. And that can also include sharing what's happening with your sexual energy. It can be that simple. How can I mess with the traditional way that emphasizes no sexual energy experience in ceremony in days before and after? So I respect traditional ways. I was trained in the Shipibo way that is very strict. I've been around strict teachers and leaders who are strict on one hand, but also are unethical with their sexual energy on the other hand. And so I've been, in some ways, a recovering apprentice. I had PTSD, honestly. And so when I actually found freedom was when I connected with the plants, and I was like, okay, what's appropriate, and what is my purpose with this medicine? What am I here to share with communities? And this is exactly it. That sexual energy exists all the time. Erotic energy is what sustains us. So how can we not tap into this energy? 20% at least having Kundalini awakenings and ceremonies. It just doesn't make sense to ignore it, to dismiss it. People aren't feeling safe to actually go into their sexual trauma or explore tantric energy in ceremony because they're told not to. And I just completely have a different perspective. And so I am finding a way to respect the plants in approaching them in humbleness and gratitude and listening to what is it that they are wanting to share with us. And in terms of connecting sexual healing with world peace, this is the message I'm also getting. That if we're healing ourselves in this energy and tapping into that, and then we're able to be clearer with each other, more authentic, more in the love vibration, this is the new paradigm that we're creating together. So I have just really pushed the edges recently, and might as well come out of the closet myself right here. Since this is the first talk I've given in Vancouver, right? How bad can it be? So I've just been in California. I've been immersed in the world of prostitution. Not myself as a prostitute, really connecting with sacred prostitutes there and learning about what they're doing and actually realizing that they are high-level red tantrikas, the ones that I'm connecting with. When I worked in Vancouver in maternity years ago, I was working with street workers who were not empowered and were addicted to various drugs, and it was very confusing for them to really step into their power. It didn't make sense. So it was fascinating for me to actually go into a world in San Francisco learning about kink and all kinds of different sex parties and how they're exchanging energy, and I would say, if I'm biased, half the time not mindful. And also connecting with the advocates there, the sacred prostitutes there, who are bringing in the sacred Babylonian rites, the sexual initiations, so that there is this ritual way of sharing sexual energy. This is like incredible. It's happening. And these sacred prostitutes are now involved in coming into the plant world with me, and we're sharing information. And also connecting in with the high-tech Silicon Valley men and women, and who are actually hiring these sacred prostitutes. So I now have access to both of these communities and bringing them together in a whole new way. This is so exciting for me, and it's we're all learning together. Like we're all, we're figuring out how to bring back the sacred sexual initiations that doesn't necessarily involve sexual intercourse. It involves community coming in a safe space that's ritualized, where people can feel like they trust themselves and their body again, and they can learn almost like from square one, like, how do I relate in a sacred way with my sexual energy? Okay, so the energy of lust and then sexual desire, and what is the difference? And I would say that lust has gotten a bad rep, that really what's underneath it is that sexual erotic drive to connect, which I said before is actually the impulse that moves us forward. And so really it's about re-educating ourselves in terms of feeling safe and joyful to have the energy, first of all, and then learning how to manage it in our bodies, because some people come who have had Kundalini awakenings and their energy is scattered all over the place and they're overwhelmed and they don't know what to do. And sometimes people are acting out in different ways, and that's where the lust or the love sex addiction comes in. I feel like energy is not bad or good, it's energy, and what we're doing is lifting the vibration of it, right? So that it's more in alignment with love and authentic light. The cultural aspect and understanding that we are in a truncated developmental stage of adolescence. I actually did a whole tele-summit on this, interviewing people around that as a culture, I named some stats, and in North America, we are at a lower vibration generally, collectively. And in terms of relating that to the medicine, in looking at appropriation, and what are the issues there, which are humongous, including the aspect of money and power that comes along with that. And so yes, I completely agree, we have a lot to learn, there's no dichotomy, and I feel that the time of the guru is over, and the time of us following steps just because we're told to do them, because it's traditional, is over. That really as a community we come together and we share authentically where we're at, and there's no cutting off and shaming people and throwing them out of groups because they're expressing differently or questioning tools or techniques. And so really learning how to be in the unknown and be with the question. And this is also an opportunity for expansion and creativity. So how do we connect these different cultures and really maximize the benefit and the gratitude and the respect for these allies, these sacred plants? And I'm at the point now where I don't advocate all over the place for ceremonies. I don't think more is better. I actually think less, more mindfully is better, because we take it for granted. These, I'm just speaking specifically around the medicines that are coming from other countries here, and we take it for granted that we can go into these ceremonies just because it's here, and we pay some money, and we deserve, I don't know, fireworks or the circus, right? And that means our money is well spent. But what's happening is that times are changing, and that this access may not be available for very long. Who knows what's going to happen? So each time we are connecting with the sacred plant, with a teacher that we respect, with a community that we feel loved and safe with, that is precious. Absolutely every single experience and every single person has their specific quality that they're bringing in that's important. So everyone has their own precious gift. Everyone's voice is important. And learning how to dance and weave all these energies together is where we're at. How do we approach the subject of sexuality with children? Well,
to this topic.
The topic of sexuality in general with our...
medicine.
Yes, that's a great question. I believe it starts with sexual and entheogenic initiations. So that there's a way to bring in ritual with children and speak about energies. So it's not like, you know, we're shoving dogma into them, but really starting with, what are you feeling in your body? Do you feel tingling, you know, when you're rolling around the grass with your neighbor, and really honoring that? That reminds me that actually I interviewed, what's his name? Ben somebody from Portugal, who is with the Tamara community, where they have a beautiful initiation, like a love program, and they have this initiation for adolescence where they get to choose how they enter into their sexuality. And Ben's daughter actually chose to be ridden on a horse, I think it was even a white horse, into the middle of the grassy area, and have the whole community standing in a circle, right? And then she got to choose who her first sexual experience would be, not necessarily intercourse, but sexual experience with. And she describes this as being the most empowered decision that she could make at that time in her life. I cried when I heard this. I would love this for everybody, right? Vision of children enjoying sexual energy. So erotic energy. So I believe when I have done circles and communities and we start off expressing our first sexual experience, half of them spoke about being a child 6, 7, 8 and being shamed for playing the doctor game with their neighbor. Honestly, it was the same story that was coming through. I would start there. I would actually create a ritual where people are touching themselves and held in like a safe communal way, and it's expressed as healthy. And so that shaming that starts when we're children is still in your DNA. It's coming through, and it's coming through your mother and father, ancestors. And this is what I mean by energy blocks. And you ask like what's going on in your body, it's all there. So if we can really harness the power of the erotic energy as precious, as beautiful, this could change the world. To bring in a way of acknowledging sexual energy that feels appropriate and beneficial for the children in specific areas. And you mentioned Europe, and that there's this early sexual education that's happening. And that's a great question. That's a huge discussion. I don't know. I would say it involves a community coming together and talking about what they feel is appropriate, and including the children.